Welcome to Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. Our show brings you closer to the heart of Texas A&M athletics through powerful stories of perseverance, purpose, and life-changing opportunities made possible by 12th Man Foundation donors. From student athletes and coaches to former students and dedicated staff, you'll hear firsthand how donor support shapes the lives of Aggie student athletes in competition and beyond. Whether you're a lifelong Aggie or simply curious about what makes Texas A&M so special, you're in the right place. Let's dive into today's episode. Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12th Man Foundation. I'm your host, Ivy Robinson, and today I am in studio with Texas A&M Baseball student athlete, Caden Sorrell. Thank you so much for being here, Caden.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
To start off, Caden, why don't you tell us where you're from, where you went to high school, and share a unique fact about yourself that you think not many people know.
Okay, so a little bit about myself. I was born in Tucson, Arizona. Moved to Dallas when I was about 5 years old. Grew up in Dallas. Went to Marcus High School. Played football there my freshman year and been playing baseball since I was about 4 or 5 years old. And baseball's always been a pretty big part in my life. You know, grew up around it. Dad played baseball. Both grandfathers played baseball. So I've always played a huge role in my life. And an interesting fact about myself that not many people know. Geez, that's a tough one. I'm kind of a one-trick pony a little bit, but I'd say I'm a good Fortnite player.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
a good video gamer.
Nice Fortnite, the video games. Yeah, I know nothing about that game. I'm sure some of our listeners are, honestly, that's like a popular game, right? Isn't that
It's been around for a while, but it's still.
Is it the one race?
Still pretty
is it
popular.
Cars? Are you? No.
You can. There's like a game mode where you can do that. I think you're thinking of like Rocket League or something.
Oh,
like
it's
that.
Rocket League. Yes. Yeah. See, I'm definitely not a gamer, so I wouldn't know. But very cool. Well, okay, you mentioned that you played football as well, in addition to baseball. Take us back to like when you were a young kid and when you were like, when did you first start playing sports and when did baseball kind of become your passion and the direction you decided you wanted to go for continuing sports in college?
Yeah, so the first sport that I ever played was soccer. I think I was about 4 years old when I played down in Arizona. And then when we moved to Texas, baseball was always like a big sport in Texas for sure. So I started playing that when I was 5 years old and played football as well, just because, you know, you're in Texas. Football is also a big thing. So I kind of knew all growing up that baseball was what I wanted to do. I always kind of loved playing football. I just loved hitting people in football. That was the big thing.
What position did you play in football?
I played running back and linebacker. I wanted to keep playing, but my parents didn't want me to play because I played a certain way that was probably a little dangerous. But yeah, I always kind of knew it was going to be baseball. Middle school and early in high school is when I really started taking it serious. And my junior year is when I ended up getting an offer from Texas A&M.
That's awesome. You know, going back to your family, your grandfathers both played in the major leagues, both grandfather on both sides, which is really cool. And then your father was a 37th round pick by the Red Sox in the 1990 MLB draft. How do you think, you know, being a part of such a huge baseball family, how did they shape your mindset and passion for the game?
Yeah, I mean, it was always amazing to have that kind of outlook on the game. On my mom's side, Tom Griffin, he was a pitcher for the Astros for, I want to say 10 years. He played for a couple different teams, but mainly with the Astros. And then my dad's side, Billy Sorrell, was a utility player for the Royals, played for, I want to say 6 years. And growing up around them, it really helped kind of figure out what I wanted to do in life. And they've always kind of been an inspiration to me just because I like to think that they lived through me a little bit, especially my dad. You know, he got drafted out of high school, but, you know, turned it down, went to college. His parents were pretty big on going to college at the time, so chose that route and had a freak incident playing outfield his junior year, collided with the center fielder, broke his collarbone or something like that, and rehabbed it for 8 months. First throw back, popped it out again, quit after that.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, he had a pretty rough go at it. So, you know, when I play you know, I think of him a lot, and, you know, it's cool to know that he's a part of the journey and he's a big reason that, you know, I'm here right now in this spot.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. You know, something you mentioned about your dad, he had the opportunity to go to the draft right out of high school, and you had that same opportunity as well coming out of high school. Tell us about, when you got the invitation for the 2023 MLB Draft Combine and what was going through your mind because you attended,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
then you decided to withdraw your name. So tell us about that and the decision to, come on to Texas A&M.
Yeah, it was definitely really cool to, get those kind of looks in high school. I always kind of knew the entire time that it was gonna take a heavy bargain to go that route just because, coming here and seeing all there is to offer, it's really hard to turn down. So, going into it my senior year when I started really getting professional looks, I kind of knew the whole time that it was gonna take a lot, but at the time I thought anything was possible. But again, like A&M is just about as perfect as can be and, in my opinion, by far the best university in the nation. So, yeah, again, it was gonna take a pretty heavy bargain.
Hmm. Was A&M always like the dream school for you, or did you ever like, was it a tough decision, or after you came here, you were pretty much decided?
Yeah, in high school, my freshman and sophomore year, I would have never really imagined that I was gonna play a high-level D1 school. Like, my freshman year, didn't even play on my freshman team. I was a bench player. Sophomore year, played JV, and, at that point, I was like, "Alright, like, chances that I go to a big SEC or a big Power 5 school are pretty small." And my junior year, I really started focusing, like, my junior off season when I started, like, really taking the weight room serious, trying to get to the level that I wanted to be at. And at the time, I didn't know that I could be at that level. But junior year of my off season is when I started getting some recruits looking at me, and Coach Early, he texted me and had me come down for a visit and did that. I went to a little camp one time, and after the camp, saw the facilities and saw all there was to offer, and then was scheduled to have a recruiting visit after the camp. But after the camp, I kind of had my mind made up that this is where I wanted to be. So committed after the camp, and then, went on the visit anyways, even after I was already committed. And that's where I went to a football game. I think it was a Saturday at like 11 a.m. and there was like 95,000 people there. And I was like, wow, like, this is definitely the place I want to be.
That's interesting. I didn't know, just what you said there, like kind of your junior year, you felt like that was when you took a turn and like your progression as a player started getting some looks. And who would you say were some of the most influential people during that high school season of your life, coach wise, mentor wise, like who really poured into you to like, did anyone encourage you like, hey, don't give up, keep working hard and you're gonna get some offers?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my high school coach, his name was Jeff Sherman. He was a big part in it as well during my recruiting time. He always had maximum confidence in me, and he was a great confidence booster to kind of have around. And I'd say that the biggest person around me during that time was my dad. Ever since I was 5 years old or when I started playing baseball, he was always there with me, hitting in the cages 5 days a week at least. So he was always there to, push me to want to get better.
Did anything surprise you about A&M when you visited for the very first time? Like when you got to campus, did anything, whether it was just about Aggie Land or College Station in general, or, you know, here on campus, like did anything surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely going into it, like, I didn't know too much about A&M until I came on that camp. Didn't know about the fan base, the culture. I didn't really know about any of it. And then again, like kind of how I touched on earlier, the support, going to that game and seeing how many people were there and, how loud it was and how encouraging those fans were, it was definitely pretty surprising to me because I'd been on a couple other visits and, a couple other Power Fives my junior year before I committed, and it was nothing even close to that, and it was night and day.
Let's talk a little bit about your time as an Aggie, on the baseball team so far in the 2024 season. You made 62 appearances according to 12thman.com with 48 starts, and you ended that season with a 15-game on-base streak, which is pretty cool. And then last season, you registered a triple, 5 doubles, 12 homers, 32 RBIs, and you started all 28 games you appeared in during an injury-shortened season. You've made such an impact on this program. When you returned, when you got over that injury, what adjustments do you think you made both mentally and physically?
Yeah, I mean, so definitely going into last year, it was tough because the last thing that I was expecting was to get hurt. I had a great fall my sophomore year and was really looking forward to getting out on the field again. I feel like I'd been waiting for years, but, in reality, it was just like 6 or 7 months, and I came back in January after Christmas break and pulled a hammy, didn't take it as serious as I should have, and one thing about me is I love to play baseball all the time and kinda pushed it a little too much on the field and, pulled it again in an inter squad, and then about a month later, pulled it again, and it turned into a hamstring tear and was out for 2 months after that, and, it was tough because the season was just starting when all that happened, and not being able to be out there, especially opening day with all your friends and all your guys that you've been working with throughout the fall was tough, and the only thing
Right.
that I could focus on during that time was being a good teammate and using that time to get stronger in the weight room while everybody else was playing, so when my time did come, I was ready.
You've been described as such a power bat for the team. How do you think you define your role for this season, kind of embracing the leadership role and as a veteran on the team?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have the same mindset going into it. I had a good year offensively, and I'm looking to, keep that up. And one thing that I really didn't get to showcase last year was the speed part of baseball, just because of that hamstring thing. I was kind of limited in that way. So going into this year, I'm looking to, maybe swipe a couple more bags and be able to chase down some more fly balls that wasn't able to get to last year.
I'm curious, Caden, what series or moments come to your mind when you reflect on your favorite memories playing for this university? Like, what comes to mind?
Man, that's a tough one. I'd say top 3. First would be Omaha. Hitting a home run there was pretty sweet, especially in front of all the people there. I think there was probably a good 25,000 people there, so it was crazy. I mean, I remember going to those games when I was like 13 years old in travel ball, and I'd always wanted to play in them. So, didn't imagine that I'd be able to hit a home run and do all that I did there, but it was an amazing feeling. Another one definitely would be South Carolina hitting the walk-off homer in the bottom of the 10th inning, and I'd say that the homer I hit against LSU, was pretty cool as well.
What do you think sets you apart as a baseball player? Maybe skill wise, obviously, you're an incredible hitter, but also like an intangible, asset about yourself. Like, what do you think makes you set apart from other players? Like, what's unique to you?
Yeah, I'd say a big thing that's not really touched on in baseball is the mental game. My dad always told me growing up that baseball is 90% mental and 10% physical. I believe you can have all the physical attributes in the world, and if you don't have the mental game, it's not gonna take you very far. So I think that having, a competitive mindset and always wanting to get 1% better every single day is something that kind of pushes me to want to be the best.
Hmm. Is there any like mottos or sayings he taught you or someone else that you still fall back on to this day to help you stay mentally tough?
Other than like him saying that, baseball is 90% mental and 10% physical, that's about it. I mean, I
Yeah.
live by that mindset pretty heavily every single day.
I always like asking, it's kind of staying on the same topic, athletes about like their routines and mindset before each game or series. But what does a typical day look like for you in both in season and off season?
Yeah, typical day in the off season, like right now, I'm really focusing on getting stronger. So I'm making sure that in the weight room, lifting as heavy as I can usually, and running as fast as I can, and putting in all the right nutrients in my body. And during season, it kind of looks the same. I mean, the weight room's a little different because I'm not maxing out every single day because we're playing all the time. But I'm still trying to do all the things off the field that I can do to make sure my body's staying healthy.
Hmm. And how do you specifically like handle pressure, especially coming into a game where you're expected like top notch performance? Like, how do you handle that pressure, especially like these SEC matchups, when you get deep into the season?
Honestly, I've never really let it get to me too much. I think that pressure's a little bit of a privilege. If you've got pressure, that kind of says that you're doing something right. So I've never really felt too much pressure. I think that me going up the first at bat of a game, I'll get a little more nervous for that than going up in the bottom of the ninth down by a run. Typically, I don't really let the pressure get to me. I think
Mhm.
one thing that I do that helps me is my breathing techniques. I mean, we had a mental strength coach my freshman year, Brian Kane. It was really big on breathing whenever you're in a tough situation. So I think it's really important to do those exercises whenever you're in a high pressure situation. Kind of helps slow everything down.
Yeah. What did he advise y'all to do? I'm just curious. Like, is it a certain way pace of breathing or like what is that?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple. Like I see it all the time. Like when I rewatch a game on TV, like they'll zoom into me and it looks a little embarrassing, but like I'll look at my bat, find a spot on the bat where I want to hit the ball, take a huge deep breath, maybe a second one if I need to, and step in the box and go from there.
Let's change topics a little bit to the team side of things. We've got a newer team this year. How would you describe the culture right now within Aggie baseball and the brotherhood of this team specifically?
Yeah, I think our culture is great. I mean, that could have been a little bit of a problem last year was the culture and the leadership aspect. But, this year we kind of realized the things we need to work on and the leadership thing has to play a huge part in it. And we've done a great job doing that, showing up to the field, making sure everybody's getting 1% better every single day. And the one thing that I do love about the team this year is we'll have guys struggling, like a freshman or something, and you'll have other guys like Copian, who's a transfer. He'll go up and teach them and give his advice on things. And so it's very player led, and it's Early's doing a great job. He's stepping up when he needs to, but for the most part, like all the players are doing what they need to do, and we all have our goals set on what we want to do for the season.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's great. Any specific goals that you have for yourself this season?
I mean, the most important thing for me this season is winning a national championship, as I think everybody else on the team has that same kind of mindset. For me, not in an arrogant or cocky way, but I want to be the best player that I can be, and I want to get the golden spikes. I want to just be the best player I can be throughout the whole year.
Are there any newcomers that really stand out to you? Like anything you would say or talk about? Mention like what should Aggie baseball fans get excited about with maybe some newcomers?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a couple. Obviously, Chris Copian, he's second in the transfer portal. He's going to be a stud. And then, another one would be Jake Dewar. I actually went to high school with him, so I've been pretty close with him for a while. And he's a great baseball player, and I'm definitely looking forward to what he has to offer during the year.
Do you have any like routines you have to walk through before you actually take the field? Anything specific?
Yeah, for sure. Aside from routine, before I do my routines, I have a ton of superstitions that I have to follow. So I have a ton of superstitions, and then, going into the routine, I do my casual flips. I'll do flips from straight on, and then I'll do some offset flips. So flips coming from kind of like first base and making sure I'm staying through the ball. And then from there, I'll do flips from third base kind of in the cages. And then again, same goal, making sure I'm staying through the ball, not rolling anything over. And then from there, I'll do a little bit of darts, which is just like BP, but sitting in a chair in the cages. And then from there, hitting like a little cutter machine. Again, that's another thing that kind of helps me stay through the ball, make sure I'm not lying open. And then from there, I go out to the field, do a little bit of PP, and then head back in the locker room and, get mentally prepared for the game.
You mentioned superstitions.
Yep.
Can you share any of them, or do you keep those secret?
I don't care. I got to wear the same socks every game day, same sliders every game day. I used to drink 3 energy drinks every game, but I've toned that down to 2. So 2 energy drinks every game day. And I usually get like a McMuffin from McDonald's in the morning every game day as well.
Nice. I cannot energy drinks in general. If I even take 2 sips of it, I am bouncing off the walls. Yeah, I don't know how y'all do it.
It gets a little much during the season. Like there's been games where I'll drink 3 and like I won't even feel an ounce of it. But I kind of just do it because I feel like I need to.
So you're literally like trying to pump yourself up with an energy drink because are you like a pretty chill, would you say, chill guy?
Yeah, I'd say so.
How do you think your teammates would describe you?
Probably the same way. I'd say in the locker room, I've got a little bit of a sense of humor at times, but I'm pretty chill and laid back pretty much all the time.
Yeah. Who do you think is the funniest guy on the team this season?
Funniest guy that's a tough one. We've got a couple guys. I'd probably give it to Jorian, freshman. He's kind of just a goofball, but he's a stud too. But I'd give it to Jorian.
Changing topics really quick. What are you studying here at Texas A&M?
I am studying ag leadership. I started with sports management my freshman year, and then I switched to ag leadership.
Yeah. And, being both a student and an athlete certainly has its challenges. We've talked to many athletes on the show and gotten their perspective on how they balance those two areas, keeping up with their goals for their sport and then also keeping up with classroom demands. So how have you found a good balance here at Texas A&M, and have any resources or individuals here helped you stay on track?
Yeah, my biggest resource as far as like helping me stay on track academically is definitely our academic advisor, Mindy. I'll be honest, like ag leadership, the classes I'm in aren't the hardest, so it's not too crazy hard to stay up with them. And on top of that, I'm taking a lot of online classes, which makes it a whole lot easier. But yeah, Mindy's great, and she always helps, find the
Yeah,
classes and is a good resource, when I need a tutor or anything when I'm struggling with the class. She always is able to find somebody for that.
that's awesome. Staying on the topic of resources, tell us about you being able to utilize the resources here in this very building that we're in, which is the Adam Season Academic and Wellness Center. What's your favorite part about this facility? The people here, the resources you can utilize to help you, become an even better competitor and a better student.
Yeah, I mean, the resources here are pretty infinite, I feel like. I talked about fueling my body off the field, and, you come here, you get 3 meals a day if you want them. You got breakfast, lunch, dinner, and we got a ton of chefs that are amazing, and they cook amazing meals every single day. So, being able to come here 5 times a week it's a blessing that not many people get, but when you go here, it truly is amazing, and it gets looked over at times for sure, but all the hard work they put in and being able to make all that food for the amount of athletes that are coming in here every single day is amazing.
Hmm. Kind of a random fun question, but what sports do you enjoy outside of baseball here at A&M going and watching yourself, just as a fan?
Mhm.
Tell us those favorite sports and then maybe like favorite games in each of those sports that you've
Like in the
watched.
collegiate level,
Yeah.
definitely football. I mean, I love going to the games and watching those games. I would say my favorite football game that I've watched this year was definitely the LSU one. There was a lot of people that were saying that we weren't going to be able to handle that environment,
That's
and
right. Yep.
we kind of went in there and
Dominated.
yeah, it was embarrassing. If you're a Tiger, it's a little embarrassing for sure. But going into their place and doing that at a night game in Death Valley is pretty cool.
Yeah. Kind of another fun question for you. If you weren't playing baseball right now, what do you think you would be doing?
Geez, I have absolutely zero clue. If I wasn't playing baseball, I'd probably be at like a D2 playing football or something. In the future, I think like I want to get into like kinesiology and being a strength coach. I haven't really had the time to focus on that here because that's a
Mhm.
pretty tough degree. So if I wasn't playing any sports, I'd probably get into the kinesiology world.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, tell us your goals for yourself. Obviously, when your time is done here at A&M, like future aspirations once you leave here one day, and then even beyond the sport.
Yeah, obviously like want to get drafted. Kind of talked about it earlier. Like I want to be the best player that I can be when it's all said and done. And when I don't want that anymore, it's probably when I'll retire. But I've always kind of had that same mindset as long as I've been playing baseball. I want to be a Hall of Famer one day. I want to play in as many All-Star games as possible, and I want to be able to experience all that. And again, talked about it earlier, but big reason I want to do that is my dad's played a huge role in my baseball life, and I like to think that he lives through me. So not only do I want to do that for myself, but I want to do it for my dad. And then when I'm done with all that, if I still have the passion to be a strength coach, then do that, or maybe I'll get into something in the sports world like announcing or whatever it may be in the future. Who knows? I haven't
Yeah.
really thought that far
Hmm.
in depth.
It's good to stay focused on the present,
Yeah.
not get too wrapped up in the future. But we always like to ask, that question on the show, like, future goals, where do you see yourself going in this life?
Mhm.
Another thing I want to ask you, why specifically are you grateful for the opportunity to attend Texas A&M, play baseball here, and continue your education? Have there been any interactions or moments with fans or, people or supporters, baseball season ticket holders that really have just, stopped you in your tracks and made you think, wow, I am very grateful to be a part of this family, this Aggie network, this great institution? Yeah. Any
Yeah.
moments like that?
Again, like I said earlier, like the fan base is amazing here when we're in season and it's early February and it's 40 degrees and you're still getting 6,000 people there. Like it means a lot as a player. And as a freshman, it took a minute to really take it all in. Like I'd look out there and I'd be like, wow. I'd get a little like sped up because there's, so many people to come watch and support us that you don't see it very many places. And even after the games, like you walk out of the facility and you've got 100 kids waiting to get autographs and a bunch of people asking to take pictures. So when you have support like that, it's hard not to be like appreciative towards it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a few more questions before we wrap up today. Speaking of, young fans, young kids who want, autographs and pictures, and even grown adults too. But if, there's a young player out there listening to this episode right now who wants to follow in your footsteps to make it, to the D1 level of college baseball, what's your one piece of advice for them?
I would say just be yourself. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people down the line that, maybe will doubt you and say you're crazy for the dreams you have. I remember being that kid as a freshman in high school and not being the best baseball player ever, not starting on my high school team. I'd always told my friends like what I wanted to do down the line and told other people. And some people would call me crazy, but I never let that get to me and never bought into what they were saying. I just kept doing me. And, I've gotten, a long ways since then. So my one piece of advice would just be yourself. And if you have goals and dreams, just to follow them regardless of what anybody says about them.
And if you had to describe or define, the Aggie baseball team this year, what would you say and how would you describe this team and the motivation y'all have and what's really, driving y'all and uniting y'all this year?
Yeah, I'd say we're definitely a very hardworking team. Every single guy in that clubhouse wants it just as bad as the other guy. So very hard work and very determined. And we got a lot to prove. Obviously, we didn't have the year we wanted to last year. And, we're kind of going in this year with a chip on our shoulder for sure.
Mm-hmm. We interviewed Coach Cliff Pennington on the show, and he said the very same thing. And I told him, I'll say it again, but I think when you've got a chip on your shoulder and you've got, the talent obviously is there, it's through the roof. But when those two things are combined, that's going to set you up for success, in my opinion.
For sure.
And then what legacy, Caden, specifically do you want to leave at Texas A&M? When they think back on Caden Sorrell's time here at A&M, what would you hope they think about?
Hopefully, like one of the best baseball players to come through the program. That's really like been all that I've like. Obviously, like I care about all the other things that come with Texas A&M and all the other resources that it comes with, and the Aggie Network and all that. But coming into college, like wanted to be a professional baseball player. Always had my goals set on that. So leaving Texas A&M, I'd hope to leave the impression as one of the best baseball players to come through.
And then finally, to wrap up today, why are you specifically proud to wear the maroon and white and be an Aggie?
I've always said it. Like I believe that Texas A&M is the best university in the nation. Being able to represent A&M and playing in front of all these amazing people and the amazing fans, it means the world.
Caden Sorrell on Answering the Call podcast. Caden, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Answering the Call. If you're enjoying the show, please rate and follow us on your podcast streaming platform of choice so you can be the first to know when a new episode drops. As always, a big thank you to our incredible podcast producer, Megan Rohde, to 12th Man Productions, and Texas A&M Athletics NIL Department. We also extend our heartfelt gratitude to every donor and season ticket holder for always answering the call through loyal support of Texas A&M Athletics and our student athletes. We will be back soon with more content. Thanks and gig 'em.